balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Well, have you ever, now I used to be a soccer coach and I've done some, teaching in classes and things like that. Have you ever had that one kid who is just so mischievous? And I'm using the term mischievous purposely here. So mischievous that they're about ready, you can see, they're about ready to do something that they know is wrong, and they stop and pause just long enough to look over at you to make sure that you're watching them as they perform the act. Folks, this is exactly what Minnesota is doing. Minnesota is essentially daring Donald Trump to use the Insurrection Act. And I'm talking from the governor all the way down to even the freaking people. They're sitting there and they're looking at it and they're going, we're about ready to do something we shouldn't do. And we're going to go ahead and do it. And we got to see, is the boss watching? Is the man watching? Really? Is he? Yeah. I got a lot on that for tonight. And I've got a couple of clips. I've got several clips of Tim Walz. He made a statement last night, and I'll explain when he did it and why. But he made a statement last night, and let me tell you, it wasn't one of those, hey, everybody, we're in the wrong, shut up and go home statements. It was a statement, veiled, very veiled statement in terms of the things that they want to do. So we'll go all into that in just a few minutes. But tonight, starting off, of course, is of our Pledge of Allegiance. And tonight, I know, unfortunately, you're going to follow up the cuteness from yesterday. So G is on tap for the Pledge of Allegiance. He's over in the green room warming up his vocal cords, doing the me kind of thing. So if you are of mind, please stand. Remove your hat if you're wearing one like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with G as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank you, G, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. Also, too, don't forget that if you do it on your phone, you can use the share option. The share option, and you can send it off to fans at AmericanPerspective.online. Now, I have 21. I'm looking for number 22. I'd like to get to I'd like to get to 26 pledges in 2026. I am at 21 pledges. I need number 22 next. So if you haven't done it yet, please do so and send it in to fans at AmericanPerspective.online. All right, tonight's headline sponsor is none other than the Institute on the Constitution. And I got to tell you, these lefties, they really need to read this thing. Anyway, the Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there, meaning take more of their courses. They have some great courses going on there. Use my affiliate link, iotc.americanperspective.online, to sign up, and while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.americanperspective.online to get great content to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's iotc.americanperspective.online. Or, if you just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, go to constitution.americanperspective.online. Take a look at this wonderful thing. It's got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. No cheap glue here, folks. That is stitched all the way through. The leather in the pages contained within. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if you have a problem, you will send it back to the manufacturer, and they will either fix it or replace it for free. Each book comes with a leather binding that is strong enough to tie up a Minnesota liberal. At least that's according to 3 Chevy. And G, of course, tosses in stitching sturdy enough to inspire the plot line for 4 episodes of General Hospital. Only 4? Really? Anyway, go head on over to constitution.americanperspective.online to get yours today. This is Buddy Tested, Buddy Approved, Billy Tasted, Billy Approved, and my youngest whiskey warrior has confirmed that the information contained within will help you to study and achieve your civics badge in scouting. It will also help you with your civics exam as well as your naturalization test. Go to constitution.americanperspective.online to get yours today. Also, don't forget, go and look at their lessons, their classes. Attend one if there's one close by, or become an instructor for them and do your own classes. We really, 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 really need to push learning about the Constitution, because I got to tell you, I've seen on social media all this time, so many people are so ignorant of the law, and they're so ignorant of our laws and how the Constitution works, man. We really have got to get going, because civics isn't taught in school anymore. Anyway, head on over to constitution.americanperspective.online, or just go and check out theamericanview.com today. Theamericanview.com, which is their actual website. So anyway, and I thank them for being a sponsor of the program. Well, reports have come out now that, I mean, I don't know what else to tell these stupid idiots that are out there saying, oh, no, she didn't even touch him. He jumped out of the way. Really? He jumped out of the way, right? He wasn't contacted. I mean, other than the fact that video evidence that I've covered on this show very clearly, that I've added to all of my social media outlets pretty much and responded in all kinds of stuff. But, yeah, none of that seems to matter to these idiots. Well, here's something that does. Apparently, according to CBS, okay, so this is a leftist news outlet. According to CBS, he actually had contacted the car because of the fact that he was suffering from internal bleeding. and he'd been taken to the hospital. So, yeah, she actually did hit him. I don't care. She hit him. And these idiots are sitting here saying, oh, no, she didn't. He missed. He missed. No, he's... Oh, and the other argument is always, she wasn't going that fast. Really? Well, how is it that he's suffering from internal bleeding to his abdomen? Okay. Why is he suffering internal bleeding to his abdomen if he wasn't impacted and if she wasn't going fast enough to actually cause any kind of damage? Okay. I'm just saying. I mean, all I'm doing is reporting to you facts. I'm reporting to you facts and evidence. And you're coming up with the dumbest conclusion that you could possibly come up with, is that, no, she was trying to get away. She was turning her wheels. She did, and she wasn't going fast enough, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm sorry, but everything that I have right now, everything that I've been telling you, everything that I've been showing you on this program and in the social medias has been nothing but truth. Nothing but truth. And 3 Chevy is correct. 3 Chevy says how fast she was going is actually immaterial, and he is correct on that. He didn't even, by the way, in order for him to be illegally allowed to fire his weapon in defense of himself, he didn't even have to get hurt. He didn't even have to get hurt. He didn't have to get touched. No physical contact would have even been needed either. See, and this is part of the reason why these leftist lunatic morons don't seem to get. They just don't seem to get this. The law already states no physical contact even need to have been made. As long as the officer was under the reasonable viewpoint, a reasonable viewpoint that he was under potential bodily harm, that's it. That's all that matters. So anyway. So, yeah, this is just utterly ridiculous. Well, you know, there's some interesting questions about why this is happening in Minnesota. And Minnesota, 3 Chevy goes, Ms. T, because he's responding to Ms. T. He goes, I've seen forklifts break bones when they were barely moving. For a simple fact that all it takes is about 8 pounds of pressure to break a bone. That's it. Just 8 pounds. That's all it takes. And depending upon, angle, and everything else, I mean, it could be something else, but all it takes is about 8 pounds of pressure to actually break a bone. So, yeah. Anyway. All right, back to what I was saying. ICE apparently has been under siege in Minneapolis, which of course makes sense because, Minneapolis had a lot of ICE agents there. But if you think about it, over the time that we've been here, this has been building for a while. I mean, we had the hotel protests where thousands of protesters were actually targeting hotels where they suspected that ICE agents were staying. Back in December, that's when that started. Okay? Then we have the activist groups that are training for, what's going on. And here, this is kind of this graphic is actually pretty cool. I got to show you this. So this is in the Epic Times. They put together this graphic. And I got to tell you, it's actually pretty sweet, to be honest with you. Give me just a moment. Here we go. And there it is. There's the graphic. And this kind of gives you an idea as to where all of this is occurring and what this is focused on. But again, I just, these people don't seem to understand this. I mean, they really, these people don't seem to understand this. This is very dangerous to play around with. So, January 9th, they had the Canopy Hotel rally where they bombarded the hotel and they were doing, evil things and stuff like that. you know. And then they had Powderhorn Park, which was on January 10th. And then, you know, obviously the memorial for Renee Good, which why she even has a memorial. It's kind of like George Floyd, a criminal doing criminal things, got, unfortunately, what they deserved. And, yeah, anyway, then you have at the Bishop Henry Whipple Federal Building from January 9th ongoing today has been, you know, continual protests that have been going on. And all of this is surrounded by the city of Minneapolis. And this is in the center of the state. Well, here's the thing, folks. And this is what these leftist lunatics don't seem to get, is that there is this law. It's called Title 18 United States Code 1101. Assaulting, resisting, or impeding officers. End of story. You're breaking the law if you do any of those. You're breaking the law if you do any of those. And that's that. I mean, there is no other question. If you do any of that stuff, again, resists, opposes, impedes, intimidates, interferes in any way, shape, or form. Now, you might start off with maybe a misdemeanor on that, or you might move up to felonious assault, which is what happened with Ms. Good. But anyway, well, things have progressed. Things have progressed. Because another moron decided to run from the police. And this was last night, Wednesday night. So a federal officer, a ICE agent, was chasing down a suspected illegal alien Venezuelan. That Venezuelan fled, took off in his car, and then ended up somehow abandoning the car. Don't know all the details. Don't have all the details. But anyway, he drove away, crashed into a parked car, took off on foot. Okay. And as he was running, the police or the ICE agents, they were able to catch up to him. Well, a couple of bystanders who were part of they were at a nearby apartment or whatever. They go and they start attacking the officer trying to capture the Venezuelan suspected illegal alien. And they attacked him with brooms and shovels. They started attacking him. Well, in the process, the individual officer fired a defensive shot and shot the Venezuelan guy in the leg. Well, this triggered. Rather than the cops saying, hey, look, folks, residents, leave these police officers alone. Let them do their jobs. No, it went ahead and triggered a night of riotous actions. And even the mayor, oh my God, the mayor, as soon as he found out, he rushed down to that location because he had to get his 5 minutes of fame or 15 seconds of fame or whatever freaking kind of fame that he wanted. And he ran down there, and of course they started they started like an impromptu rally down there, I guess. And he went there and he was like, hey, you know what? These ICE agents, they're causing chaos. No, they're not. They're not causing chaos. They're doing their jobs because your dumbass doesn't want to do it. See, that's where all of this stuff comes into play. Because the Minneapolis Police Department, under the direction of the mayor, is not enforcing federal law like they are supposed to. That the governor of Minnesota is not enforcing federal law like he is supposed to. All of this could have been avoided had they quit being a sanctuary city and sanctuary state and basically telling the federal government, hey, we're no longer going to enforce your laws. Which is, the law is that they do this. That's the law. Now, Faye, or Fry, whatever. He goes down there and he's like, there's nearly 3,000 federal officers deployed across Minneapolis. We only have 600. Oh, so in other words, you're basically admitting the fact that you don't have enough personnel to actually enforce the law, is what you're telling us. That's what you're telling us. Anyway, he's saying, oh, they're creating chaos. No, you guys are creating the chaos by not enforcing federal law. All right? Now, these rioters then go and attack a suspected ICE vehicle. That's right. They destroy a suspected ICE vehicle that was apparently parked nearby. They tore it apart. They got into it. They grabbed all the info that they could from inside, and they were using it to dox the officers. Well, then they go even one step further. They get a truck. They take this truck. They wrap it around the gun locker, the gun safe that is a part of the vehicle, and they tear it out of the vehicle. Folks, all I got to do is say that if you're doing this shit, you are a moron. Yes. ICE and FBI vehicles being destroyed by looters, supposedly after the agents driving them were forced to abandon them, and they destroyed them. So, anyway, independent journalist Nick Sotour showed several of the vehicles being rifled through, with several of the rioters attempting to break into the secured compartments within the vehicles. Agents' gear, laptops, personal information now litters the streets, Sotour said. Yeah. Well, after all this happened, we ended up with a statement from the governor of the state of Minnesota. None other than Tampon Tim, stolen valor, coward, lying Tampon Tim. He decides to get on TV and talk about what's going on and give his folks advice. Now, I've got several clips here. I'm going to go through these clips one by one. And, I'm going to rebut or discuss what Tampon Tim has to say about all this. And I'm just going to tell you that, Tampon Tim isn't quite as peaceful as he claims to be. Let's take a listen.
My fellow Minnesotans, what's happening in Minnesota right now defies belief. News reports simply don't do justice to the level of chaos, disruption, and trauma the federal government is raining down upon our communities. 2,000 to 3,000 armed agents of the federal government have been deployed to Minnesota. Armed, masked, undertrained ICE agents are going door to door, ordering people to point out where their neighbors of color live. They're pulling over people indiscriminately, including U.S. citizens, and demanding to see their papers. And at grocery stores, at bus stops, even at our schools, they're breaking windows, dragging pregnant women down the street, just plain grabbing Minnesotans and shoving them into unmarked vans, kidnapping innocent people with no warning and no due process.
All right, so what he just said is all a lie. That's right. He talks about how again, this is not a speech to like calm down the rhetoric, folks. This is the speech. This is the start of the speech that he's supposed to be like, hey, folks, you need to stop. You're destroying our community. You need to quit. Yeah, none of this is happening here. Okay? And, yeah. All I got to say is this is effing ridiculous in terms of what he's got going on here. Now, I know that the audio appears to be a little low. Let me see if I can figure out see if I can figure out a way to make it a little bit louder here for you. But let's see. It's okay. Not going to tell me, but let's move on to clip number 2 then.
Let's be very, very clear. This long ago stopped being a matter of immigration enforcement. Instead, it's a campaign of organized brutality against the people of Minnesota by our own federal government. Last week, that campaign claimed the life of Renee Nicole Good. We've all watched the video. We've all seen what happened. And yet, instead of conducting an impartial investigation so we can hold accountable the officer responsible for Renee's death, the Trump administration is devoting the full power of the federal government to finding an excuse to attack the victim and her family.
No, he's not. He's not trying to attack the family. He's simply trying to figure out if they are, let's just say, domestic terrorists. So, yeah, Tim. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, well, Tim continues on. And by the way, she wasn't a victim. I mean, she isn't. She was a victim, yes, but she was a victim of her own stupidity, because what she did is basically dumb. Anyway, here's clip number 3.
Just yesterday, 6 federal prosecutors, including the longtime career prosecutor leading the charge to investigate and eliminate fraud in our state's programs, quit their jobs.
Sounds like that prosecutor really deserved to quit his job anyway, because let's face it, that guy, yeah, he did a wonderful job, didn't he? Did a really wonderful job. Sorry, I accidentally covered up Tim Walz. Not like you guys really wanted to watch him, but anyway, here he goes again.
Rather than go along with this assault on the United States Constitution. But as bad as it's been, Donald Trump...
This is not an assault on the Constitution. In fact, if anything, this is in line with the Constitution. Because the Constitution states that immigration and naturalization is 100% in the federal government's purview. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
Intends for it to get worse. This week, he went online to promise that, quote, the day of retribution and reckoning is coming. That's a direct threat against the people of this state, who dared to vote against him 3 times and who continue to stand up for freedom with courage and empathy and profound grace.
Actually, no. He didn't care, because he didn't need your sorry asses. He literally didn't. He didn't need your sorry asses. So, hey, whatever. I mean, yeah, whatever. All right, well, let's move on to clip number 4.
All across Minnesota, people are stepping up to help their neighbors who are being unjustly and unlawfully targeted.
Okay, that's
They're distributing care packages and walking kids to school and raising their voices in peaceful protest, even though doing so has made many of our fellow Minnesotans targets for violent retribution.
Total lie. Total lie there. Well, I mean, I suppose that the people are doing what they're doing, but they're not doing it peacefully. They're not doing it peacefully. They certainly aren't. And these people seem to, again, all of this that he has said so far is doing nothing to tone down the rhetoric. Nothing to tone down the rhetoric. Everything that he is saying so far is intended. Literally intended. Now, either by him, by his handlers, by the people that are running and pulling his strings, okay? It's all intended to push up the rhetoric. Here, let's go to clip 5.
Folks, I know it's scary, and I know it's absurd that we all have to be defending law and order, justice, and humanity, while also...
Whoa, wait. You're defending law and order? Law and order. Justice. Really? This isn't defending law and order. Okay? This isn't defending law and order. Law and order would be actually enforcing federal law there, Timmy. Tampon Timmy. That's not what you guys are doing. That's not what you guys are doing. Anyway, here.
Caring for our families and trying to do our jobs. So tonight, let me say once again to Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, end this occupation. You've done enough.
Okay, this isn't an occupation, number one. It's because your dumbass decided to not enforce federal law. Your dumbass decided to have a large swath of illegal aliens doing all kinds of stuff. You decided to not enforce laws regarding fraud. You decided to cover it up. You decided to do... I mean, seriously, this guy is sitting here, and can you honestly sit here? Can you honestly sit here to... do you honestly sit here and like say what you're saying with a straight face? Because you're such a dumbass. You are a literal dumbass. Anyway, there's a few seconds left. Oh, no. All right. Let's move on to clip 6.
Let me say 4 critical things to the people of Minnesota. 4 things I want you to hear as you watch the news and look out for your neighbors. First, Donald Trump wants this chaos.
No, he doesn't. No, Donald Trump does not want this chaos, dumbass. What he wants is he wants law and order. He wants the illegal aliens to be out of our country so that laws are actually followed. He doesn't want this chaos. He's not interested in this. Really, he's not.
He wants confusion. And yes, he wants more violence on our streets.
Okay, first of all, there is no confusion here. I just pointed to the exact law that was being broken by these people. I pointed to it. I showed you what law they were breaking. Donald Trump doesn't want this. Believe me, all he wants is peace. But he got handed a bill of goods from the last administration and from dumbasses who are still in office like you, Tim. Tampon Timmy. Again, is any of this seriously designed to tone down the rhetoric? No, it's not. He is literally trying to push this. He's literally trying to push this in the entire situation. So, yeah, here we go.
We cannot give him what he wants.
Okay, if you cannot give him what he wants, okay, think about this logic for a second. I just want to take a second. Think about this logic for a second. Donald Trump wants chaos. Donald Trump wants people to cause violence. Donald Trump wants to invoke the Insurrection Act. If you are seriously in that belief, then why are you sitting here saying that ICE is doing all of this stuff and trying to like up the temperature then, Tim? Don't you think you should go the other way and say, hey, look, everybody, look, I know you're pissed. I get it. I understand, but temper that down. Temper that down, okay? And don't give them what they want. Do not riot. Do not protest. Do not do any of this stuff. Just get out of the way. Just get out of the way. Let them do what they're going to do. Get them out of the city, and we're good to go. Okay? You don't want the federal government because this is exactly what Trump wants. Okay? Yeah. So here's clip number 7.
We must protest loudly, urgently, but also peacefully. Indeed, as hard as we will fight in the courts and at the ballot box, we cannot and will not let violence prevail.
Yeah, you're letting violence prevail right now, dude. You're letting violence prevail. You are sitting here letting violence prevail because of your inaction. Look at what happened to the FBI vehicles and that. I mean, seriously, what the hell? What kind of point is that? Oh, let's destroy the vehicles. Yeah. I mean, at least they're not running around killing people like the Purge, like in the Purge or whatever. I got a very last final 2-second clip, which is a complete and total lie of Tampon Tim. But here it is. Ready?
Minnesotans believe in the rule of law.
No, they don't. Apparently not. Because if they did, they wouldn't be rioting. They wouldn't be destroying property. Here, let me tell you, really, Tampon? Let's say it again.
Minnesotans believe in the rule of law.
Minnesotans do not believe in the rule of law. Because if they did believe in the rule of law, they would be getting rid of the illegal aliens. Which, by the way, I don't know if anybody noticed, but the illegal aliens that live in Tampon Tim's neighborhoods and that were being kicked out by ICE, yeah, they were all criminals, like long-time criminals. Okay? Long-time criminals. So, yeah. Anyway. By the way, one of the cars that was attacked had something spray painted on it saying the only good agent is a dead agent. Yeah. Yeah. That's really toning it down there, Tampon Tim. That's really toning it down. Well, Deputy Attorney General for the United States, Todd Blanche, or Blanche, whatever his name is. I think it's Blanche. Anyway, he put the blame squarely on the political leaders. So he said in a post on X, ICE operates in thousands of counties without incident. Men and women doing their jobs protecting us from criminal aliens. Minnesota's insurrection is a direct result of a failed governor and a terrible mayor encouraging violence against law enforcement. It's disgusting. Walls and Frey, or Frey. Yeah, Frey. I'm focused on stopping you from your terrorism by whatever means necessary. This is not a threat. It's a promise. Yeah. And then, instead of the Minneapolis PD, by the way, state troopers showed up. Apparently, later on that night, state troopers showed up to augment the Minneapolis PD and the ICE agents. And finally, Frey had a freaking brain fart. And he goes, go home. He told the rioters, go home. We cannot counter Donald Trump's chaos with our own brand of chaos. We cannot be at a place right now in America where we have two governmental entities that are literally fighting one another. Yeah, guess what, Frey? Dumbass. You're going to lose anyway. You're going to lose bigly, to steal a word from Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump, as expected, okay, as expected, went ahead and went nuclear on ICE because of this. And, it didn't go that statement. Now, granted, I didn't play the whole thing. I picked pieces out of it, but I got to tell you, that statement didn't go over very well. It didn't go over very well at all. And it shouldn't have, okay? It shouldn't have. Because Tim Walz literally lied. He's saying ICE agents are going door to door ordering people to point out where their neighbors of color live. Really? No, they weren't. They're not doing that. Give me a break. Then he continues. This is again Tim Walz. They're pulling over people indiscriminately, including U.S. citizens, and demanding to see their papers. That's a bunch of bullshit. No, they're not. They're going after. They're doing targeted attacks, or targeted operations, I should say, not attacks, but targeted operations toward illegal aliens within neighborhoods. And he goes, breaking windows, dragging pregnant women down the street. I guarantee you they're not dragging a pregnant woman down the street. This is a bunch of bullshit. It is a total bullshit. This whole entire thing is complete bullshit. Now, President Trump decided, and honestly, he should, but he decided to clearly say, essentially, enough. And he did so by saying on a Truth Social post, if the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE, who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to this travesty that is taking place in that once great state. Thank you for the attention to this matter. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing, and this is, again, this goes back to, I'm telling you, this goes back to intelligence. I don't know. I don't understand it. I'm really not a smart guy. I'm really not. I mean, I'm smart, yes, but I'm really not like super smart. So how I can sit here and come up with this stuff is beyond me. I mean, how is it that I'm able to find this within like 3 seconds of a search? And I'm fairly, I'm just going to say I'm fairly confident that I am not the smartest and sharpest tool in the shed. But take a look at this bull crap. He goes, it's simple. Title 10, United States Code, Section 253. That's Title 10, United States Code, Section 253. The president, by using the militia or armed forces, or both, or by any other means, shall take such measures as he considers necessary to suppress in any state any insurrection, domestic violence, this is the key, domestic violence, unlawful combination, or conspiracy, if it opposes or obstructs the execution of the laws of the United States or impedes the course of justice under those laws. Now, he can do this if he can do this, that particular piece, he can do that all by himself. It doesn't really matter. However, it also lists that if the constituted authorities of that state are unable, fail, or refuse. Okay? Unable, fail, or refuse. He's got Donald Trump has it all. Constitutionally, legally, his ability, he has it all. It's all on his side. And these dumbasses are sitting here going, well, they can't do this. They can. Trump can. And he will. I promise you this. He will. Okay? So President Donald Trump said that he could invoke the Insurrection Act, and he absolutely could. Because the Insurrection Act allows, and if he does it, he institutes it, President Trump would be allowed to use the U.S. military and the National Guard to suppress insurrection, rebellion, or domestic violence, enforce federal law when the state authorities cannot or will not, and protect the constitutional rights of citizens when the states fail to do so. Now, he's not playing a game of chicken here. If you think that Donald Trump is playing around with this, you got another thing coming. You've got another thing coming. Because Donald Trump is kind of like Ronald Reagan. You remember Ronald Reagan back when the Berkeley riots were going on? And he tried to negotiate. Well, he didn't really try to negotiate. He basically said, literally, that you people who should know better told these young people that they have the right to pick and choose which laws they are going to adhere to, which is exactly what's happening in Minnesota. These dumbasses who are in charge, Walz, Fry, Keith Ellison, they all are picking and choosing which laws they choose to enforce. And this is what's putting Minnesota at the crux or at the center of a potential insurrection. And yes, this is, believe it or not, this is an actual insurrection here. All you lefties who are running around here saying, oh yeah, January 6th was an insurrection. No, it isn't. This, you are now seeing what a insurrection actually is. You are now seeing exactly what an insurrection is. Stop it. He's telling Tim Walz, stop it and clean it up, or I will. So, yeah. These people don't seem to understand what they are dealing with here is they are dealing with a group of individuals who are being pushed by a group of individuals behind them who are paying for all of this, who are pushing and agitating things. And the federal government eventually is going to have to step in. And if the federal government does that, okay, the federal government does that, then yeah, we are going to seriously have some challenges here. Because the fact of the matter is that not all Minnesotans are wanting this. Not all Minnesotans are joining in all of this. Not all Minnesotans are in the camp of, hey, we need to have as many illegal aliens here as we possibly can. I promise you, that's not happening. That's not happening. By the way, the fraud that's been going on in Minnesota was actually even exposed even more. I can't remember his name. I think it's Nick Shirley. Anyway, he was going around with some businesses, and he was trying to get looking at business licenses and things like that. And he's going around and he found some businesses that only existed on paper, that their physical addresses that they claimed was in use is actually not that claim. That they didn't actually existed. They didn't actually exist in the physical location they claimed that they did. So the question becomes, well, why are all these businesses even there? Why are all these businesses even there? And what are they used for? Well, after Tim Walz did that speech, the White House called on the governor to resign in disgrace because he used the live stream and telling Minnesotans to continue to record immigration and customs enforcement agents, suggesting that the footage of officers kidnapping innocent people with no warning and no due process could be compiled into a database as evidence for future prosecution. Well, first of all, let's just put it this way. Due process is basically your immigration hearing and your subsequent deportation if you're an illegal alien. That's just it. People don't seem to understand that, again, the United States Constitution was never intended to cover anybody other than U.S. citizens. That is all that it was intended for. That's it. If you're a U.S. citizen, you have the protections of the United States Constitution. We extend some of those protections to others. But the fact is that according to history and the founders and the framers, the United States Constitution was supposed to only apply to the United States citizen. That's it. And you can look back at history. This goes all the way back. See, this is part of the reason why why Congress had to actually declare that the Native Americans, back then known as the Indians, were considered United States citizens. That's why Congress had to adopt them in as United States citizens. Okay? They had to do the exact same thing under the 14th Amendment to get the slaves brought in. If the United States Constitution was to apply to everybody who resided or, decided to show up within our borders, then what would be the point in having the Constitution in the first place? What would be the point in having a citizenship test? What would be the point in making sure that citizens have these rights? There wouldn't be, because anybody who happened to just show up on our shores and step within our borders, well, all of a sudden the Constitution just magically applies. That is not the way the framers intended. It is not the way the framers intended this. That is not the way that our country is supposed to work. It's just like birthright citizenship. It doesn't show up anywhere within the Constitution. And it was even argued when the 14th Amendment came out that it was basically, hey, this doesn't apply to foreigners, aliens, the whole list. You could list it out. The guy that wrote it said that. United States Constitution does not apply to non-citizens. So anyway, the Rapid Response 47 account on X basically stated, a tampon is currently attempting to do a live, highly produced statewide address to condemn the enforcement of our immigration laws in Minnesota. But it's not going so well, and he's not kidding, because that video that I took clips out of, over half of it was basically waiting for the governor to show up. I only showed you maybe a few minutes at most of it. The entire freaking thing was 15, 20 minutes long, and at least half of it was just a camera staring at a chair. Yeah. Anyway, the broadcast apparently was plagued by technical errors, prompting people to brand this address as a total disaster, including conservative political activist David Freeman, who said that Governor Tim Walz's high-stakes live speech about the ICE surge in Minnesota, brutal tech fail, audio glitched out with two voices overlapping, making it impossible to hear a single word. Now, for those of you that don't know, I downloaded it. They only had the left channel available because the left channel was the only one that had Tim Walz on it. I was wondering why the right channel wasn't available, why it wasn't in stereo. Well, it was pretty simple, because they had two voices overlapping. Yeah. So, Tim Walz, you're screwing around. You're going to FA and FO. And I guarantee you, yeah, you're going to find out pretty quick, because if the president pulls the trigger and gets the Insurrection Act enabled, your butt is literally going to be in a sling. All right. Well, the only sane Democrat, and I can't even believe that I'm saying this, because not too long ago, the man was recovering from a stroke. But the only sane man in the Democrat Party is Senator John Fetterman. Once again, breaking ranks with his Democrat idiots. During an interview on Fox News, Fetterman revealed that he has absolutely no problem with ICE rounding up criminal illegal aliens and sending them back to where they came from. Fetterman, graph in hand, spoke about the border crisis under Biden, which saw monthly crossings skyrocket to nearly 300,000 each. He goes, "That's unsustainable," he said, adding that it shouldn't be unreasonable to want to secure our border and to do it in that way. The Pennsylvania senator made clear that he was speaking as a Democrat, suggesting his party ought to get with the program on border security. Conversation then turned to ICE deportation operations, specifically the recent incidents in Minneapolis. Fetterman wasn't about to let one tragedy derail the entire conversation about criminal illegal immigrants. He cited fresh statistics from the Washington Post showing that 67% of people currently being targeted by ICE have criminal charges, either pending or already on their record. He's like, that's more than 2/3, of people now. And this is a fact, of course, that the left refuses to acknowledge. Fetterman continued and says, "Round up all the criminals, deport them. They shouldn't have ever been here, and they definitely have to go." He acknowledged that not everyone being picked up by ICE has committed crimes, but insisted that two things can be true at the same time. You can oppose mass deportations of law-abiding undocumented immigrants while still supporting the removal of those with criminal records. I disagree with Fetterman. There is one thing that I disagree with him on this. The minute they crossed the border, they became a criminal. The minute they crossed the border illegally, they became a criminal. So every single person who is here illegally, whether you want to call them undocumented immigrants or illegal aliens, the correct, legally correct term, they are all criminals. They are all criminals. Well, Fetterman continues and says he strongly rejects the extreme on either side when it comes to immigration enforcement. He doesn't want to see more incidents like what happened in Minneapolis, but he's also not buying into the narrative that ICE operations targeting criminal illegal aliens are somehow beyond the pale. He even took aim at his federal Democrats for their selective outrage, pointing out the hypocrisy of their current pearl clutching over deportations. Because I watched you earlier in your show, you pointed out President Obama deported millions of people, and they weren't having the same kind of outrage here, hear from Democrats. Now, this is a valid point, because the Democrats conveniently ignore everything, unless, of course, it happens to be Donald Trump. Fetterman pointed out, hey, Obama deported millions of illegals during his regime. Yet somehow, none of that didn't spark the same theatrical displays of resistance that we're seeing now. I guarantee you those ICE agents were doing the exact same job back then that they are today. This guy, he really ought to just, become a Republican. Or an independent. Just get out of there. Just become an independent. Or a Republican. Either way. Anyway, all right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit those thumbs up, thumbs downs, or if you're 3 Chevy, thumbs sideways across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening. and good night, everybody.